Hey guys, today we're going to do section 2 in chapter 8, which covers something called the law of cosines. Okay, now last lesson we had two cases. We had side angle angle and we had angle side angle. Now today we're going to be working with side angle side situations, so you're going to know two sides, you're going to know the angle in between them, or we're going to have side 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 situations. Now, you don't need to memorize that, okay? You don't need to keep track of what letters you're given. All you need to know is that for today, with the law of cosines, you will not have a match, okay? So no match. So you will not have, if they give you big A, they will not give you little a. If they give you big B, you will not know little b. So these formulas involve not having two letters that match each other, and that's how you'll know when to use the law of cosines. Okay, so I'm going to give you two examples using the law of cosines. I'm going to explain these formulas, and then on your worksheet today, there's going to be a small section where I'm just going to give you some letters, and then you have to determine whether to use this new set of formulas or you use the ones from the other day, the law of sines. And again, all you're looking for is, did they give me a match? If I have a match, or if I have two angles, so that I can always find the third angle, which will give me a match, that's when I use the law of sines. And if I don't have a match, I'm going to use the law of cosines. So down here, you're going to see three formulas. Now, they're all the same formula. It just depends on which letters they gave you. Okay? If you look at the very first one, and I'm going to cover up this part for just a second. Okay, what that looks like is the Pythagorean theorem. You've got c squared equals a squared plus b squared. But these aren't right triangles we're going to be dealing with. So there's going to be another part of the formula to kind of correct that. And that's what this is. It's minus 2 times a times b. So it's these two sides, but without the squares. And then the cosine of the angle that would match this one. So notice this formula starts with little b and it ends with big B. It's got the other two letters of the other two sides over here, and these are those same two sides without the squares anymore. So these are all the same formula. It's just this one starts with little a and ends with big A. This one starts with little b and ends with big B. So you can use any of these formulas depending on what they gave us. So like on this one, they gave us little a, little b, and they gave us big C. So we're going to use this first formula, and because they gave us big C, we want the formula that's got the big C in it as well. Okay? So let me show you how this works. The first thing, I'm going to plug in what I know. The one thing I don't know is little c. That's what we're going to do. We're going to be finding little c. So c squared equals, and then it's going to be a squared, so 2 squared, plus b squared, so 3 squared, and then minus, and then 2 times a times b, so it's those two numbers, but don't put the squares on them, 2 times 3, times, this is multiplication right here, times the cosine of our angle, which is 60. Now, if you'll notice, our variables on the left and everything else that's on the right are just numbers. So I can plug all of that into my calculator in one step. I can just take 2 squared plus 3 squared minus, and then 2 times 2 times 3 times the cosine of 60, and just hit equals. My calculator will do all of that. So c squared equals, so that's what we found. We simplified all this, and we got 7. And so my last step is just to take the square root of that. So c will be the square root of 7. So second square root button. Second, I'm going to use my answer button. And I'm going to get 2.64575. Now, remember, we are rounding to the tenths. So I'm going to look at the hundredths. That's a 4. Do not look over here and round that up and then round up again. That 4 is going to tell us to leave the 6 alone. So 2.6 is going to be little c. All right, now what else do I not know? I don't know big B or big A. I don't know those two angles. So we just need to pick one to find. Okay, and it does not matter. I am going to find big B. Just because. Now, if I want to find big B, then I'm going to use the formula that starts with little b. So I've got b squared, so that's going to be 3 squared, equals a squared, so that's 2 squared, plus c squared. Now, c is 2.6, but technically, if you think about it, if you remember, that 2.6 came from taking the square root of 7. So that's actually what c squared is going to be. So this value right here, if you want to be more precise, don't plug that into your calculator here in a second and get 2.6 squared and leave that as 6.76. Actually, that's because we chopped off a whole bunch of decimals. This is actually 7. Okay, that's really what that is. So that's probably what I'm going to do here in a second. All right, minus 2 times, and then these two numbers without the squares. So 2 times 2.6, and then times the cosine of b. Now, a lot of you are going to have trouble with this. Okay, there's some simplifying that I can do. You've got to be very careful with the order of operations. 3 squared, that's 9. That's not a big deal. 2 squared, that's 4. 2.6 squared, well, this is the one that I said was 7, because that's what c squared is. It's 7. Minus, and then I could multiply these things together. I could take 2 times 2 times 2.6. So 2 times 2 times 2.6, and that's 10.4. 10.4. Now, that 10.4 is still multiplying the cosine of b. So cosine of b. Now, this is where people are going to run into trouble. You are going to want to take 4 plus 7 minus 10.4, and you can't. This is multiplication. Order of operations says you have to do multiplication before you can do any kind of subtraction. So that is not how we're going to do this. Follow what I do right here. Here's what you can do using the order of operations. 4 plus 7, that's 11, minus 10.4 cosine of b. This is a two-step equation. I can't combine these. I can get rid of the 11 by subtracting the 11 away. So 9 minus 11, that's going to give me negative 2. Now, I've got this negative 10.4 that's multiplying the cosine of b, so I can divide by it. This is multiplying, so I'm going to get rid of it by dividing. So, clear, negative 2 divided by, make sure you're using your negative button, not your subtraction button. Negative 10.4 is, now, I'm going to write down 0.1923. I'm going to write a bunch of decimals here. The more decimals you keep, the more accurate your answer is going to be. We don't want to round yet. Equals the cosine of b. And in fact, I'm just going to leave this answer in my calculator for right now. I'm going to take, so how do you solve this? Well, if you're trying to get b by itself, you're going to move the cosine over, so you're going to do the inverse cosine of that number. So, I'm just going to leave that in my calculator. I'm going to take the inverse cosine, so I have to hit the second button. Then I'm going to plug in that answer, and I am going to get angle B is 78.9 degrees, and that's angle B. Well, once you know angle B, because they gave us angle C at the very beginning, now we can find angle A. We don't have to go through that whole formula again. I just need to take that and that. So 78.9 plus 60 is 138.9, and I need to take 180 minus that answer, and that's going to be what my angle A is, 41.1. And now I've solved that triangle. Okay, so example 2. Now, law of cosine does take a little bit longer. So for angle 2, or for the second example, they gave us 3 sides, little a, little b, and little c. So we're going to have to use the law of cosines twice to find 2 of these angles, and then we'll just subtract those 2 from 180 to find the third angle. So it does not matter where you start. So let's say I want to find angle A. So I'm going to use the formula that starts with little a. 4 squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2 times 3 times 6 times the cosine of A. And then I could also find, let's say big B. I could find big B by using those numbers and just using the formula that starts with little b. So 3 squared equals, and then it's going to be 4 squared plus 6 squared minus 2 times 4 times 6, those same 2 numbers just without the squares, cosine of big B. And now I just need to simplify these. So it's very important that you can simplify these correctly. So the first one, this will be 16. These 2 you can square, and you can actually combine them if you want. Okay, you can add these together after you square them. So 9 and 36, that's going to be 45 minus 2 times 3 times 6, that's going to be 36 cosine of A. And then you have to make sure you do not try to combine those 2 together. You can't. You have to subtract the 45 away. So 16 minus 45 is negative 29. And then that minus sign becomes a negative. Negative 36 cosine A. Now you can take negative 29 divided by negative 36. So negative 29 divided by negative 36 is that long decimal right there. Keeps going for a while. And then I am going to take the inverse cosine of that, and that's how I'm going to get my angle A. So the inverse cosine of that last answer is going to give me 36.3. So that's angle A. I need you to pause the video and then see if you can simplify that and find angle B. Pause it now. All right, so that's the answer I got for B. If you did not get this, then again, pause the video, go through, look at my steps, each step I did, and then check it with yours and see where you may have gone wrong. Okay? Now, once we know big B and we know big A from our previous step, now again we can find big C by just adding these 2 together and subtracting from 180. So big C would be 117.3 degrees, and now we have solved that triangle.